which they can use for life. And that is why You Enlighten My Path is the title of today's workshop for teachers. Next slide, please. So Ananya Foundation for Happiness is a nonprofit organization started about 2.5 years ago in 2022, July. And ever since, we have reached out to about more than 17,000 individuals, which includes parents, teachers, and children, to spread factual awareness about mental health. Because we believed that support is available, but somehow there is deep-rooted stigma and taboo attached to mental health, especially in the Indian setup. And we believed that we have to create that safe space for children to reach out and seek help whenever they are in distress. Next slide, please. So mostly as teachers, you would have observed that a lot of problems that a child, starts showing up, starts from the age of 11 or 12 and above. This is, you're looking at the stages of human life, and from a newborn till a senior year. But the most challenging phase of a child is the adolescent period. They are transitioning from a young kid to an adult. So this is an interim phase here where it is, the phase is very beautiful by itself, but then it's a very stressful and a demanding phase also, because a lot of their academic curriculum milestones fall in this age band. So be it their 10th, and then follows 11th and 12th, they have to make a career choice, they have to make a stream choice. So it's a lot of stress on the child, the parents, at the same time the teachers, because the child and the parents, both set of people, look up to the teacher for support or to fill in the gap in terms of their academic learning. Next slide. So when a child is in the adolescent period, you would very naturally recognize that the child is going through physical, emotional, intellectual, and social changes. It is very evident that the child is going through these changes. You would see them physically. They show up a lot of changes. Sorry. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Meanwhile, please keep yourself muted. You can definitely raise your questions over the chat box. And at the end of the session also, we will have brief time to address your questions. Please be muted. And we will address your concerns at the end of the session. Thank you. Yes.
So physical changes are very evident in a child. It is very visible, but the challenge comes when the child is going through emotional changes, and these emotions can range from being very happy to sad to anger. They are very moody at times. You just can't predict their mood swings, and here lies the biggest challenge for parents and teachers. Intellectual development, you would have also as a teacher noticed that a child who has been good or average or above average in their academics up till a certain age has suddenly, kind of lost interest in their academics. There is loss of focus, there is loss of concentration. And the other way, the vice versa is also true. Some child, who has who was not at all, focused on their studies has now suddenly, developed interest in studies or has started performing well in a particular subject that once he or she was not comfortable with. So such intellectual changes also happen. Social changes again, since the child spends a lot of time, in the school campus with teachers and friends, you would also notice that these children showcase their social skills, interacting with their peers, interacting with a diverse set of friends, interacting with people or children from different classes, it could be their juniors or their seniors. So the kind of social personality a child is, this is also noticed by the teachers. Next slide, please. Now, while the child in this age band is going through so much of changes, it is but natural for them to experience these emotions, mostly anxiety, anger, stress, and depression. Um, which again, not every child is verbal enough in expressing how they are feeling, why they are feeling what they are feeling. But there are yet again, children who uh, are a little verbal. They are open about, their emotions. They would like to talk to, people around them about how they are feeling. But these changes are happening in them. It is a result of the changes that we see in these children. So it is important for us to here understand that if an adolescent kid is has become more cranky and throwing more tantrums than as a toddler, then the background is because they are trying to understand certain things around them. They are trying to figure out what is happening with their mind and body. Maybe they are dealing with their own challenges, dealing with their social circle. Now, this social circle can be, within the family, with the friends, relatives, cousins, siblings, parents, teachers, you name them, and the child is playing an important role in nourishing a relationship that is there in their lives. Next slide, please. Yeah. So normally, the word mental health or mental health issue or depression or anxiety, um, sets in because as a result of a stress that is acting upon this child. So, what are these stressors that work on the child and if not addressed in time, might push the child into depression or anxiety? And if that is not addressed in time, there could be loss of life also. The biggest challenge and the biggest responsibility also is the academic performance of a child. So here, as I mentioned in my previous, slide, you might notice that a child who was not focused or keen about academics has suddenly, started doing well, or a child who was doing well has suddenly kind of lost interest in studies. Because again, if we can go back and look into, the different changes that is happening in their body, mind, and intellect, it is connected there. So normally what happens, eighth, ninth, and 10th high school, 10th becomes their biggest milestone. After 10th, they have to, pick up a stream for themselves, pick up a college. And this comes with a demand of a high cutoff that, a good colleges in the city or in the town has. And these kids go through um, a lot of emotional stress which they might not be able to open up to their parents or their teachers or mentors. It is important that, as a teacher, you initiate conversation with the child to, take that extra step and try to understand What is it that is bothering the child? Why is there a dip in the performance? Or what is it that the child's inclination towards a particular stream or a career? That way, maybe because, maybe you can help out the child figure out what kind of career or stream he or she would be very comfortable with. Because we have always seen that the biggest tussle between the child and the parents after their 10th comes in when they have to pick up a stream. The child might be interested in arts or commerce. Maybe the child, parents want the child to become an engineer or a doctor. मैं engineer नहीं बन सका तो तुम्हें बनना है. I wanted to become this, I couldn't, but then I'm giving you all the facilities, so you become this. We have heard all of these statements around us. So academic challenge, when it comes to the child's performance, you need to understand that the child is going through a very stressful period. Maybe the child is not getting the support that the child is seeking for silently, maybe. So here, because the child spends a great deal of time with the teacher in the school campus, um, and you get these opportunities to notice that the child might be in a distress situation. I think this child needs a little more help, emotional support. It is up to you to reach out and help this child, initiate that conversation with the child and the parent, because here you have the liberty and the authority both to put a word across to the parents and convince them about what is it that the child is actually looking at or might be good at. The other stresses could come with something that is happening around us, which could be family issue or a social issue or a traumatic incident that happens with the child, or any of the world events. Let me start off with world events. The biggest world event that we have all seen, at close proximity is the COVID-19. And you teachers, you have all seen how teaching kind of changed. It took a 180-degree shift, and how students focus kind of suffered. We have seen children lying on the bed and listening to the online sessions, the children not attending the classes. The entire pedagogy itself kind of changed with the onset of COVID-19. But then, as a world, as a society, we have all fought back. We fought the demon itself, and we have emerged as winners. We have gone back to schools, we have gone back to office. But then these 3 years somewhere has left an impact on the young brains. A school environment can in itself, the environment in itself, I'm not talking about the academics here, the environment in itself can be a great learning for a child. And almost for 2.5, 3 years, all the children did not have this learning. They've kind of missed it out. So that focus has taken a hit. That interpersonal skills, the way they behave with teachers, the way they get along with their friends, all of this has taken a hit. So it's important that we understand uh, that these kids need a little more support and help to get back to their normal cycle of learning. Now, if I have to talk about traumatic incidents, now these traumatic incidents can be anything ranging from uh, a sexual abuse, a molestation attempt, or a loss of a near and dear one in the family, um, or any unpleasant situation that has left a negative mark on the child's mind. Here, I was in a workshop like this in a school, and during the workshop, a child just walks up to me and she's shivering, she's crying, and then she tells me that, "Ma'am, I want to do well in my academics. I want to study well, but then I'm not able to." When I ask her why, she says that I was molested by, a family friend of ours, but I'm scared to talk about this to my parents because I feel that my parents will not understand me. They might not believe in me because this person who molested me is a very close family friend, and day in and day out, we spend time together, we celebrate festivals together, we go around, out on vacations together. So I don't know what to do. I didn't know whom to reach out to. So here, the child is very clear about what the child wants, what the child wishes to achieve in terms of its, academic accomplishments. But then there is something that is bothering her. In this case, that unpleasant situation has is a traumatic incident and has kind of affected the child's performance. Now, who is responsible here to make this child comfortable, talk to the child, make her understand what has happened, how to deal with it, and manage this traumatic incident that is actually affecting her academic performance? I believe the onus lies with each one of us, parents, teachers, and people like us, psychologists or mentors or life coaches. Anybody and everybody can step in and uh, give this child a shoulder to lean on, listen to her, understand where she's coming from, what she's trying to convey, and what is it that is actually affected with a traumatic incident on a young mind. Family issues are the next big number of cases that I get to listen to. There are adults in the family. There is husband and wife. There are siblings. There are in-laws. A lot of children also tell me that, "Ma'am, I just don't feel like going back home because there's always a fight in the house. Somebody or the other is fighting. Either my parents are fighting or my in-laws are fighting, or my grandparents are fighting, or my mother and my um, uh, uh, my mom and my grandmother is fighting. So I just don't feel like going back home." Now you can imagine the kind of emotional trauma the environment in the house has left on the child. Home is supposed to be the safest place for a child. Home is where we all would want to go back and retire for the day. Home should have been the place where we all feel at peace and calm. But if 8th, ninth, and 10th standard kids come to us, walk to a stranger and tell us that I don't want to go back home, we can imagine the kind of emotional distress the child, the teenager, the adolescent kid is going through. If any day a child gathers the courage and walks up to you and tells you something like this, please do not shoo them away. Please do not tell them that this is the story of every house and you learn to deal with it. Not every child is emotionally, psychologically capable to handle a distress situation within themselves or around themselves. So it's important here to listen to the child first and then figure out what needs to be done. As I said, as a teacher, you have all the liberty and authority to take that one extra step, reach out to the parent and tell them that, "Ma'am, here is an issue and we would like to talk about it." With this, I would also like to talk about something which normally happens, when there are two or three people, two adults or two teachers or two parents talking about. If the child has gathered the courage to talk to you about something that is very, very personal and private, it is your prime responsibility to maintain the confidentiality here. You do not have the right to go around and discuss an issue like this with anybody and everybody you come across. The discretion of who the stakeholders are. Yes, some people need to know about it, depending on the situation. Is it a situation of molestation? Is it a situation of rape? Is it a situation of, a situation where the family issue has come to, the school? The child has gathered the courage to walk up to a teacher because he or she feels comfortable talking to this teacher. It takes a lot of effort and courage to walk up to a person and tell them how we are feeling emotionally. Put yourself in a shoe like that. So it is your prime responsibility to maintain the confidentiality, the discretion of whom to, share this information with, who are the stakeholders with whom I can share this information. That discretion lies with you and only you. You are responsible to make that judgment. Because if the child ever gets to know that you have kind of leaked the information, you are going around and telling everybody what the child has told you, what the child has confided in you, the child will never trust you. And I'm sure as a teacher, none of us would want to be in a situation like that. Next slide, please. So those are the major issues that we look at, but that's not an exhaustive list. We come across a lot of other um, uh, issues with the child. Starting again with academics, there could be bullying, there is body shaming, there is the financial burden that is there in the family has kind of now uh, you know um, made its way into the child's life and emotions. There is also the challenge of time management, because we see that a lot of kids today are, with the gadget, they are addicted to gadget, and they just do not want to focus on their academics. There is comparison everywhere. There is, that element of stardom. So I would, like to touch upon each of these, aspects a little more in detail, so that that when you recognize these stressors acting on a child, you know where the problem lies and how and where you can step in and support the child in a situation like that. So we always think that uh, the problem of adults does not really have to affect the child, but children are more keen and more alert about the surroundings. They notice, they see how you are behaving, they see what is happening with you. They do notice that mama is in tension, daddy is in tension, you know, what do I do? These kind of thoughts keep running in their minds. So, be it your work pressure, be it the financial pressure that is there in the family, see if you can, um, you can, not talk about this very explicitly in the house if it is a very serious issue. I hope you are understanding what I'm trying to say here. If it is something that the child need not know, then it is up to you to, safeguard this information from reaching the child. But what if, again, the child has noticed and has the questions, for you, asking you what happened, what is it, where are we? Or if you, as a teacher, come to know that, a particular situation in the house has kind of affected the child and its performance in academics, then where is it that you, as a teacher, can step in and start supporting the child? It's okay. You might, sometimes feel like you're stepping into the personal, life of the family, but then if the personal life of the family is actually affecting the child's performance, child's academics, then again, as a teacher here, you have the liberty and authority to talk to the child and make the child feel comfortable. How you make them feel comfortable, how you listen to them, it depends on case to case. I can't give you one single process or mantra and tell you, please go ahead and use this, and you'll solve the problem. It is not like that. And that's exactly why all of our sessions for children is titled as "You Are Precious," because we believe they are precious because of their unique capabilities. Every child is different when it comes to their emotional, psychological, intellectual, and their academic capabilities. So, what is the kind of dialogue you will have with the child? What is the kind of support you are giving to the child? Where can you take this one step further and bring in the parents for a dialogue, a discussion, and tell the parents that, look, this is, there is something like this happening in the family, and the child is disturbed. So how do you think we can all come together and support the child here? um, the next big reason that we see for children slipping into depression or anxiety is body shaming and bullying. And you can be body shamed for anything and everything. The way you look, your hair, your complexion, the chashma you wear, the dress you wear, the accessories you bring in, the financial strata the child belongs to. You can be bullied for anything. So if you come across a child who is being bullied, you would have to be a little more sensitive towards the child and how he or she is feeling about being bullied for a particular reason. We have seen chashmish, they call chashmish, they call, that, kuli, they talk about, they pass names about their height or their complexion or, kala, kalia, what not, the list goes on and on. So if you come across, please ensure that you don't kind of silent the child by saying that ಅಷ್ಟೇ ತಾನೇ ಹೇಳಿರೋದು. That's all they have said, right? What's going to happen? What has it changed? That's all for you as an adult. You have no idea what the child is going through. When he's already dealing with, um, that, um, I don't even like to call it as a shortcoming or a flaw. The child already knows. I am wearing glasses. I'm wearing soda glasses. People might comment about it. I came across a child who comes to me and tells me that, Mom, I hate my father. And when I asked her why, she says, I got my soda glasses from my father. And today, all my friends tease me for the soda glass that I wear. And, I always feel that, they always try to keep me away. They don't include me in the discussions. They don't keep me with, all their outings or hangout, gatherings or parties. So because my friends treat me like this, because I wear a soda glass, I have started hating my father because I got my soda glass from my father. Now you can see where the issue started and where it has landed actually. She just couldn't focus on her academics. She just couldn't focus on her studies because every single time, the only thing that kept running in her mind was that my friends are not including me in any of the activities that friends actually should be doing, be it party, be it hanging out, be it, lunch breaks or, washroom breaks. These girls, they have those little episodes of getting along and discussing something, smiling and laughing at something. So if a child is left alone, that is the only thing that will bother the child. Now, I want you to put yourself in a shoe like that. You go and visit, family gathering. You know all the people there. Your friends, your relatives, gang up, and they are spending a good, happy time together, but they don't include you. Will you ever go back to a family gathering like that? I'm leaving you all with an open-ended question. Will you feel like going back to a gathering like that? Will you feel like having an open conversation, being friendly with all those people who ganged up against you? Will you feel included in a gang like this, which was actually looking at you and making fun? So, bullying and body shaming look very trivial and look like a very small issue, but then it is not. It is not, because the child is does not have the um, level of understanding that we as an adult have. The child comes with unique emotional and psychological capabilities. The child is trying to figure out what is happening with him or her. It takes a considerable amount of time for the child to understand that I am much more worth than the soda glass that I'm wearing. A ninth standard, a 13, 14-year-old kid or a 15-year-old kid, it would be difficult for the child to get this. So how would you as a teacher support the child if you come across a child who has been a victim of body shaming and bullying? A girl again, in a workshop like this, walks up to me and tells me that, ma'am, I'm bullied. I, I, I feel like, I shouldn't be alive on this earth. Looks like a very bloated issue to us as adults, as a generation. But then, if the child has gathered the courage to make a statement like that, you can see how much pain she's actually going through. And then when I asked her, who bullies you and for what? She tells me, friends anyway bully me, ma'am. But unfortunately, my parents also bully me. When my parents take me out for shopping, my mom tells me, Are, you can pick up any dress, you're going to look the same. A simple statement, and you can, this statement is going to stay with her forever. You have no idea about. When the child asks for an extra roti from the mother says, you have eaten two already. You want to put on a kg, is it? One statement made one time, that statement is going to stay with her for life. She might not be the same plumpy little girl always. She might turn out to be the most beautiful person in the class. or in the family for that matter. She might start working on her body. She might start working on her skin, on her diet, on her exercise routine, and become the most beautiful girl around. But that will not erase the statement that you as a teacher or a parent have, or as a relative or a friend has made. The next big challenge is, I think 95% of the complaints you get as a teacher is gadget addiction. What level of gadget addiction I as a teacher can handle? When is it that I need to reach out to an expert? Will this child need only a counseling kind of a session, or does this child need medication to come out of this addiction? Not all addictions are just treated by counseling. Some very intense, severe cases have to be routed to the right experts, and in this case, it has to be the psychiatrist. Because no counselor, no therapist, no psychologist has the right to administer medicine, a psychiatric medicine to an individual. It's important that you understand this as a teacher. You can again step up and understand what the child's schedule looks like. Why is the child, addicted to the mobile? Is he trying to play games there? Is he looking at videos that he shouldn't be looking at? Or has he started using this gadget because he doesn't have anybody around to talk to? People around him does not have time for him. When kids get bored, they want a gadget in the hand. They want something that keeps running. They want something that interacts with them, keeps them busy. So once we understand the source of the problem here, half the battle is won. So that why question, why did you start? When did you start? How did you start? How do you have access? And you can't be saying that this is not my job. It's very easy for us to say that. But the biggest satisfaction in any job lies when you take that one extra step. Think about it and see. The biggest success, the biggest satisfaction, the biggest applause and laurels come to us when we step out of our regular comfort zone and do a little extra. And as a teacher, it would be very rewarding for you. Why is the child not willing to come to class or school? Why does not the child hang around with friends? Why he or she, likes to stay alone, sit alone, or have lunch alone? Why does the child not answer in the class? Did he or she not get the concept? Is it that he or she did not understand what was being taught? Or is it that, the child has an issue of anxiety or something in the background that is running and stops the child from responding in the class? And there comes in, the issue of comparison. Same school, same amount of fees, same set of teachers, same classroom. One child performs well, but the other doesn't. Where do you think is the gap? That is exactly why we tell that every human being is unique. Now, I will ask you a question as an adult, as a teacher, as an individual. I'm asking you this question. Is there anybody on this earth who is ditto like you? I'm sure the answer is no. Even if there are 10 people who like, a good cup of coffee, the taste, the amount of sugar, the temperature of the coffee, the color of the coffee, there could be slight variations where you will differ from the other individual. And I'm just talking about coffee here. Now, my next question to you is, if I bring a clone that is exactly like you, that is an exact replica of you, whom would you value the most? Would you value the clone because it is a ditto copy of you, or would you still value yourself? So please ensure that this statement is etched in your memory, that every child you are dealing with is a unique individual. And I'm sure as teachers, you have noticed how unique they are. So, the other child could score 100. What's wrong with you? The other child, is taking care in extracurriculars. What is wrong with you? Let's understand why the child is not being able to, perform in a particular subject or a exam or a extracurricular activity. Maybe this child has some other, special caliber in him that we have just never made an attempt to see. Again, I'm sure you have come across children like that. Stardom is the next biggest silent problem. It is not very visible, but it is always there. In a classroom, a child who is a good performer, a child who scores 90, 95, who's a rank holder, becomes a star. A child who is good looking becomes a star. A child whose parents regularly visit, whose parents are well dressed, becomes a star. Have you ever thought how the other children feel when we, with our knowledge or without our knowledge, when we are making one particular child or a few of children there as stars of the class? This child who is not does not look like a star today might be that entrepreneur whom you will invite to your school as the chief guest. He is just not showing up those star qualities at this point in time. I had a classmate when I was doing my engineering, and he had about 7 or 8 backlogs. He flunked 1 year. And he used to be always up to himself, no halla bulla, no going around. But after our graduation, he kind of, we just didn't know where he was. And I think 5, 6 years down the line after our graduation, we get to know that he's the person who dines with Bill Gates every day. But he was never treated like a star in the classroom in the college. So, how much of a stardom worshipper are you as a teacher? Do you see a star in every child because of their unique capabilities, or are you just looking at that top notch performance when it comes to their academics or their extracurriculars for that matter? The next big issue that we come across is substance abuse. If you look around, go around the classroom, check the bags, you are bound to see a cigarette or an alcohol in at least one bag. That's the scenario today. Please do not be surprised if I tell you that You could one day see a drug pill also in the bag. Because today drugs are available for just 5 rupees, and they are available at a regular looking grocery store around us. How will I educate these children about right and wrong, good and bad? How will I convince them that, this is not what they should be doing? Right or wrong, again, it's a very gray area there. It becomes very difficult. But what is the kind of this generation actually, stands to reason. They would like to know the kind of impact these substances will have on their brain. Now, if they have to know that information, then it has to come from you or from the parents. Do you know that information in the first hand? We have always told this is not the age. But why is it not the age? I will give you a clue here. Please write it down and go back and do some homework with regard to this. There is one video on YouTube which talks about brain imaging of people who are, addicted to substances. Go back, Google. I can share the link, but I will not, because I want you to do that homework today. The brain imaging of people who are into substance abuse shows that the brain has multiple holes in it. With so many holes, will our learning be the same? Will our problem solving skills be the same? Will our decision making skills be the same? Also, go back and Google for these two words, amygdala and frontal cortex. Study about it, write it down, and see how these two very small looking portions in areas in the brain have an impact on the overall development of the child. This is your homework for today. Next slide, please. Yeah. So when we talk about children slipping into depression or anxiety or showing any other symptoms of a not very healthy mental health, then we talk about risk factors, we talk about protective factors, and we also talk about the red flags. Risk factors are those which uh, are those situations which actually push the child into a distress situation or depression or anxiety or any other mental health issue. All of the stresses that we now spoke about are risk factors. If anything that happens in their life, it's a risk factor. In the previous slide, I think I missed out on talking about, little children coming with their love stories, their breakup stories. You will hear 6th, 7th standard children talking about relationships. And what is the statement that we as adults make? Is this the age? It is not wrong to develop emotions for the other person. We need to give them the right explanation. We need to make them understand the types of relationships, the types of emotions that we develop. Friendly, adoration, admiration, applause. All of this can be, um, mistaken for a love interest. I adore one person so much that, I actually start feeling that I think I'm in love with him. Kids go through this. So you need to have that regular dialogue with an individual, with a child who shows this issue that is bothering him or her. So with all those stressors, what are those protective factors? Now, these protective factors are those which can actually bring out a child or an individual out of this risk situation. How do I bring this child out of this situation? What are those activities that I can suggest to this child which will help him or her fight this situation and get back to, the normal course of life? Those are protective factors. It could be as simple as, a conversation, a discussion, an exercise, running around, jogging, a healthy conversation with a friend or a family member or a therapist or a mentor, meditation, music, working around with the nature, gardening, cooking, games, sports, carom, cricket, anything. All of these are, kind of protective factors which will actually help in bringing the child out of the distress situation. So, given a case, given a child, given a situation, what are the types of protective factors that will work for this child is a question that you need to ask yourself. Do some homework, go back, and then support the child. What are those red flags? What are those warning signs? The child is coming, going back to home without eating his or her lunchbox. The lunchbox is never khali. The child does not interact with anybody. You ask a simple question in the classroom, the child gets nervous. You have started noticing that the child um, does not mingle with his friends that he is supposed to mingle with. Those are the red flags. Those are the warning signs which silently tell you that I think you need to start having a conversation with this child. And the conversation cannot be, straightforward, like, I noticed, do you have any mental health issue? Do you have depression? Do you have anxiety? No. You will have to start off with establishing a rapport with the child first. And then maybe after 3 or 4 sessions, you come to the real, problem or the real issue that you have noticed. The first conversation itself cannot be about the issue or the problem that you have seen. Next slide, please. So, why does mental health become important to a teacher? Because your performance is always judged by the performance of the child. And if mental health of the child is not good, then the performance will automatically take a hit 80 to 85% of the times. And the child also spends a great deal of time in the school campus with you. I understand. You might say, ma'am, in the 8 hours, we are looking at 400, 500 children. I get that. But you are there looking at these children, at least once in that 40-minute period, you might have seen this child. Their emotions, they might put up a very smiling face, but maybe you are able to make out that something is not right in their marks card. Everything might be right in their marks card. The child could be performing very well, but then you will always see this child crying or up to himself, isolated, not mingling with anybody. That is where you as a teacher come into the picture. Because again, I'm repeating this, you have the liberty and the authority to go ahead and tell the parent what you are noticing in the child. And here in this case, because it is a teacher, because it is you who spends a great deal of time with the child, the parent might believe in you. Next slide, please. So the role of the teacher in developing a robust mental health is, one is you are a observer. You get that opportunity to observe the child. You have the opportunity to initiate that conversation with the child. You can go ahead, take that, time and talk to the child. You can have that dialogue with the child. You have that opportunity, because one, you are noticing. The other one is, you have that time and that authority. I noticed you are not answering in the class. I Can we talk about it? You are the bridge between the child and the parent many a times. And you are also the person whom the child 80 to 85% of the times looks up as a role model. Not for every child. You might not be the role model for every child, but there is one child maybe who looks up for you as a role model and who would want to come and talk to you. Role model is one thing. The other thing is, there could be a child who feels comfortable talking to you. That comfort, maybe they have not experienced with anybody, maybe not their parents and friends. So they might as well come and talk to you about what is happening with them emotionally. So when the child, puts in so much of trust in you, I'm repeating, it is your prime responsibility to maintain the confidentiality and make this information available only to the stakeholders if required. Next slide, please. So signs to look for in the kids. I told about the red flags or the warning signs. So here they are. I'm repeating them. Doesn't mix up with other children. Gets into a lot of fights and shows abrupt changes in the mood. Is constantly distracted in class. There is loss of focus. Always shows up with incomplete homework or workbooks. Doesn't finish tiffin or any type of eating. Or there is any eating disorder, is always tired and sleepy throughout the day, has started back talking or misbehaving suddenly in the classroom. All of these are warning signs. You need to notice and start or initiate that conversation with the child and the parent, and see to it, ensure that you are not doing this as a complaint about the child. Your intent here has to be to help the child and not complain about the child. Because if you complain about the child, neither the parent would want to listen or nor the child would want to act upon it. And we have no idea what the child is actually going through and, um, uh, showcasing these symptoms. So be a little more sensitive to what the child is portraying. What are the signs that the child is showing? A couple of days back, a 19-year-old kid, came for counseling, and this child was sexually assaulted and physically assaulted by his grandfather, that is his mother's father, when he was in the first grade. A 6-year-old kid being sexually abused by the grandfather. And yesterday he tells me that, ma'am, I didn't want to tell this to my parents because I didn't want to break the family. My parents will fight if, they get to know that my mom's father has done this to me. And he didn't know, it kind of bottled up inside, and he didn't know how to come out of it. He spoke about it to a couple of friends, and friends being friends of the same emotional and psychological capability, they kind of introduced him to, they introduce him to videos that he shouldn't be watching. So he starts seeing porn videos. And being addicted to porn videos, he is, his kind of sexual drive has increased now. Now imagine the kind of courage he had to walk up to me and tell me all of this. No filters. I had tears in my eyes. And he has bottled it up for 13 years. Ma'am, I don't want to do this to somebody and, put them in a situation that I was once upon a time in. That is why I'm here to seek help, ma'am. Please help me. So you can't, if a child comes to you with a problem like this, you can't be making faces. You can't, be judging him or her. You can't be telling him that, you should have spoken. Gone is gone. It's 13 years now. Why are you talking about it now? How, something that has happened. How can I help you now? Your grandfather is no more. How can I, help you? छोड़ दो उसको, भूल जाओ. हम भूल नहीं सकते. खुशियां शायद भूल भी जाए, लेकिन दर्द भूल नहीं सकते. So this child comes back to me in the room and he tells me that, ma'am, thank you so much for listening to me and not judging me. For the first time, somebody did not make faces at me. You the time you walked in, you had one smile, and the time you were listening to me, you had the same smile, and the time I walked out, you had the same smile, ma'am. Thank you so much for being so concerned, and uh, I felt very comfortable talking to you. That is the kind of trust we would want to gain when we would want to, counsel, because teachers are not mere teachers. Counseling is something, it is a byproduct when you decide to become a teacher. It comes to you very naturally, because nobody, even counselors, would not have seen the number of children that you would see every day. Next slide, please. So inability or impatience that you see in a child, sleep hygiene, too much or too little sleep that you get to know from the parents, or in the classroom, social isolation, low motivation, inability to concentrate or focus, frequent illness, change in their appetite. Again, I'm repeating, these are the warning signs. And this is not an exhaustive list. Please bear that in mind. There could be other signs also towards which you will have to be a little more sensitive. I cannot put, it's a huge list and I cannot put it here. And every individual shows up different red flags or warning signs. You need to become a little more sensitive to recognize these in an individual. Next slide, please. For the last 1 hour and 15 minutes, I've only been talking about the children, how they feel, how papa they are, and all of that. But then that does not mean that I do not value you as an individual. The teacher that I am talking to, the individual that I am talking to, you are equally important to me. While you are dealing with hundreds of children day in and day out, I'm sure a lot of you are dealing with your own demons also. What is happening in the house will be for sure carried to the school. What is happening in the school will for sure be carried back to the house. The punishment that you were supposed to give to the child in the school, you're actually giving it to the child in the house. The tone in which you wanted to talk to your own children, that tone has actually traveled from the house to the classroom, and you are for no reason yelling at a child in the classroom. I'm sure all of you have gone through this. If you are expected to support hundreds of children, thousands of children in your entire career, then it is important, all the more important, that you take care and be a little more sensitive about your own mental health also. This is this is your first step. If you don't feel good about yourself, about your emotions, if you are not happy, how will you support the people around you? It could be your spouse, it could be your children, it could be your parents, in-laws, or it could be the hundreds of children that you are interacting with every day. And you're not alone in this. There are people out there who can support you. There are people out there who can, help you out in a situation. But when I say this, let me also make a point that not every problem has a solution. But when we talk to people, we get a different perspective and they will help us navigate through these challenges. It's not that, I go to a therapist and I'll get a solution. No, not all problems have a solution. I'm the last person to paint that rosy picture for you. So please be mindful of your own mental health also. Next slide, please. I don't have to explain about this slide because, I've spoken enough about why mental health is important for anybody and everybody. Physical health, we all take care of. A common cold, a common cough, a fever, we medicate ourselves, we take the medicine, we take, we drink hot water and we do what not to make ourselves comfortable. लेकिन जब दिल में दर्द हो रहा है, we choose to keep silent because we think that nobody understands us. And this nobody is always within the family. But there are people outside of the family who will actually understand us. You can reach out to them. Next slide, please. So it becomes even more a challenge to talk about mental health because of the stigma and taboo attached to it, especially in the Indian setup. We get to hear a lot of statements like, we have also been through it, what's the big deal? I have suffered this, why can't you? If I can deal with it, why can't you? Oh, you are going to a psychiatrist, why so? Only mad people go to psychiatrists. Only people who are weak go to psychologists and therapy. Let us put them all in a basket and keep it aside. I am not feeling good. I deserve to be happy. I deserve to come out of this unpleasant situation. It is my right, and I will reach out to the right expert, irrespective of what the world is telling me. Next slide, please. So here are a few myths about mental health. As I said, only weak people go for a therapy or psychologist or psychiatrist. If you take medicine, you will be addicted to it. You will never be able to, focus on your job or your tasks that you have to do if you are taking a medicine. You will never be able to come out of, this help cycle where you reach out to the doctor and start taking medicine. You will never be able to come out of it. All of that is myth, and I am the proof. There was a time when I was into depression. There was a time when, that was the time when I reached out to a psychiatrist. I have taken help, I have taken therapy, I have been put on antidepressants, and here I am out of these medicines for more than 2 years now, and I am doing well in all the aspects of my life, be it my day job, be it my cooking, driving, taking care of my family, going around with my son, going around with my family, my friends, my performance. I've taken n number of awards in my work also. Next slide, please. But the challenge to, a good mental well-being is denial that everything is fine. This cannot happen to me. This is, this cannot happen to me or my child. We are very strong people. My child is performing well, so he or she need not be in depression. That denial is the biggest challenge I face today working in this area. I don't have to see a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a therapist or a mentor or a life coach, because I am a very strong individual and I will win over it is the next big challenge. I am actually a very strong individual, but I couldn't be a strong mother, and that is why I slipped into depression. I slipped into depression because I lost my 16-year-old daughter to suicide. I couldn't be strong in a situation like that. I had to be put on medication. Hesitation. What will the world think about me? How will the world react to, when I tell them that I am seeing a therapist, or when I tell them that, I am going through depression? I didn't even hide this from my employers. In my company, everybody knows that I was in depression and I have, been put on medication. The fear of response. What will people tell me if I go and tell them that I am in depression? Will they start devaluing me? If they start devaluing you, that is their problem. It is not your problem. You have already recognized your problem, and it is your duty to find a solution for that problem. And that is nothing but, reaching out to the right expert and seeking help. Next slide, please. So please prioritize your mental health. Reach out and seek help if you feel that you are in need as an individual. Only if you feel good and strong and empowered or enabled will you be in a state to help the people around. Next slide, please. Who are your experts? There are psychiatrists, there are psychologists, counselors, therapists, life coaches. But remember, only the psychiatrist has the authority to administer a medication. Only the psychiatrist can give you a medication for your mental health issue. None of the other experts have the right to give it to you. So if a counselor tells you take this medicine, please do not take it. A psychiatrist runs a blood test on anybody that they plan to give the medication, and then looking at the parameters in the blood report, the medicine, the dosage is given to you. If you do not know any of these people around you who can help you in a situation like that, you can any day reach out to Ananya, a Foundation for Happiness. That is me. And, I am not a psychologist by education, but the initial counseling will be done by me. I'm pursuing my MA in psychology now, but then I do have a panel of experts who have joined us in this cause. And if I feel that, this is a very intense case and needs expert intervention, then I will route the case to the right expert. Next slide, please. Ranjana? Yeah, sorry. Okay. So however private or personal your issue is, we will be the last people to judge you. You can talk about any of your issues with us. As I said, we have panel of experts. They also understand, the importance of confidentiality and, helping out the individual who gathers the courage to reach out to. We are very active on Instagram or Facebook. Typically, we reach out in 24 to 48 hours. Give us that time. If I'm in a session like this or traveling, I might take a little extra time to respond, but we will surely respond. Next slide, please. Um, Insta and Facebook, Instagram. I mean, on Instagram, we are as Ananya Foundation. On Facebook, I think we are as AFH, the short form of Ananya, a Foundation for Happiness. You can also write to us on contact@ananyafoundation.com email. And I would be glad to hear from you. I would be waiting for your feedback as to how you felt about this session, how it helped you, or if there is any other information that you would want me to include in my next session, or if you would want more such sessions where we talk about specific uh, cases that teachers could come across, then you can please write to us, and Ananya Foundation is here to facilitate that. Once again, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, and for your patient hearing. Um, Thanks again. Thank you, Class Saathi. Thank you, Ranjana, for organizing this. I am open for questions now.
Yes. Thank you so much, ma'am. I think this has been an enlightening session and much more awareness was being provided by you. And we are really thankful to you, ma'am. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences and wealth of knowledge with us today in the session. Uh, Coming back to the questions, if we have any, let's check over the chat box.
If you
If
have
anyone
questions,
has,
you can put it in the chat box, or you
yes,
can also talk it out.
yes. We would really appreciate if anyone raises any question or any concern regarding the today's subject.
Yeah. Or if you do not have questions, then you can please switch on your mic and give me a feedback also.
It's
There
really
has
nice session, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
there has been many appreciations for this session, ma'am, and we are really delighted to have you here today with us.
Thank you.
I hope
Thank
every
you.
one of us did get quite
It's
a
very
share of knowledge.
important.
Thank
Uh,
you.
Mental
yeah.
health issues you explain, no, ma'am. It is very nice.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Sarah, ma'am, so much.
Uh,
Yeah.
Somebody called as Shilpa has written, please help me out with this. I think I don't know what's the previous message there.
Shilpa ma'am, can you just unmute yourself and raise any question you have? Acha, how to manage work and personal stress? This was the question raised by Shilpa ma'am.
Okay. Normally you will have to put a timetable for yourself, actually. You can start off from there, because work needs attention, your family needs attention, and you also need to give yourself some me time. I don't know what is it that you are talking about, when you say work and stress, but I'll give you my example so that maybe you will be able to draw in some steps to figure out a solution for your issue. I don't have a driver, I don't have a cook. I have a day job with a multinational company. I have a release every once in every 6 weeks. I'm always on the toes. As I said, I'm a technical writer with Rambus Chip Technologies. It's a US company, so I have most of my team sit in the US, so the time zone difference is there. I need to give time to my son. I drive, and I at the same time I need to make some time for myself also. When I say myself, it could be just a quick nap, or it could be a good meal with a friend, or a family member, a quick drive for yourself, or you just relax in your room, sitting and listening to the music that you would love to. If you are, you know, uh, write it down as to where your time is getting wasted. Am I taking more time in cooking? Am I taking more time sitting there with a cup of coffee looking at my gadget? Am I spending more time on Instagram than on myself? If the answer is yes, then that is the area where you need to work. Or if there are family issues that is actually taking your time, then it is a passing phase. Even in my life, there was a time when, I wouldn't find time to, even comb my hair for 5 to 6 days, because I had an ailing father-in-law. I had two little children. I had to cook for all of them, and all of them had different dietary requirements. Uh, it's a passing phase, but somewhere, maybe you can compromise on half an hour of your sleep at the night and do something that makes you feel good. It could be reading, music, watching a movie, or just sitting there on your bed and doing nothing. Are you finding the time to go out and take that walk? 24 hours, there is nobody who has 1 minute extra or less than 24 hours. It all depends on how we use it. So once you start making time for yourself, your work, and your family, stress has no place to seep in there. You're on mute, Ranjana.
I think we all have got our answers, ma'am. And let's wait for another minute if anyone has any question.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, we can wrap it. So, concluding this session, it's an insightful workshop. I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to each and every one of you who joined us today. A special thanks to you, ma'am, Ms. Sneha Rao, for sharing your expertise, experiences, and wisdom with us. Let us prioritize mental well being, be watchful about the science, and seek help and encourage students and others who we know to seek help in time. And your certificates for attending this workshop will be shared with you on your email IDs that we have collected during the registrations process. And coming back to one excitement that we have, there will be another session on 10th of October. And this workshop is going to be about the jewelry making workshop. And this fun workshop and its details will be shared across all the WhatsApp groups soon. Meanwhile, sharing the detail, it will be on 10th of October and it will be from 4 to 5 p.m. Thank you once again, teachers. Have a wonderful festive season and look forward for some and more workshops ahead. See you soon. Let's
And if
wrap this.
teachers can quickly switch on their camera, I would certainly like to take a screenshot.
Yes, yes, sure, ma'am.
Teachers, would you be willing to switch on the camera? Ranjana, will you take the screenshot?
Yes, yes, please. Yes, let me do this.
I was expecting the ladies to be in green today.
Okay, only
Navratri colors.
it's only you who is actually following the color.
I realized it after wearing it actually, but then yeah,
Uh,
I thought that the schools have it. But anyway, thank you so much, everyone. Wish you all a very happy Dasara. May God bless you all.
Thank you, ma'am. Same to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.